everybody. It's Lori Brown with empowerednurses.org, and today I have a very special guest, Kathleen Russell. Kathleen works for the National Council of State Boards of Nursing. She's their senior policy and analyst, or senior policy advisor. And the National Council of State Board of Nursing has so many great resources for nurses, and that's why I wanted to bring Kathleen to you to share what resources they have. So welcome, Kathy.
Thanks very much for inviting me, Lori.
So glad you're here. I just think what you do is so interesting. So if you could share a little bit about yourself with our viewers.
Okay. Well, I am a nurse and an attorney, and started my nursing career, I hate to say it, but almost 40 years ago as a pediatric nurse at the Children's Hospital here in Chicago. I went to the Children's Hospital in Los Angeles, and then I went to UCLA while I was there and got a master's degree. So I taught nursing at Rush University after a short stint as a pediatric endocrinology clinical nurse specialist in LA. But my love was teaching, and came here to Chicago and taught, and then ended up going to law school and practicing as a trial attorney for a number of years. And now I find myself at the National Council of State Boards of Nursing.
Awesome. Well, thank you. It's so interesting. Kathleen's path and mine are very similar because I grew up in Chicago, moved to Indiana, went to undergrad, went to UCLA to grad where she went, but we just never met each other until a couple of years ago through the American Association of Nurse Attorneys. So very happy to have you. So could you share with our viewers a little bit about the National Council of State Board of Nursing?
Well, most people know about the National Council, as some people call it, or NCSBN, as other people call it, because it's a mouthful of a name, because we create the NCLEX. So we develop and create the NCLEX. So that's our largest claim to fame and how people know us all across the country. When I say we make it, we organize and work with individuals. We don't actually sit in an office and write the questions by ourselves. It's actually a really great process and a really big process that I'm proud that we do, but I'm not involved with it all, so I can't really answer any questions about the NCLEX. But we have a whole other side of the National Council State Boards of Nursing, which I will now call NCSBN, that has to do with nursing regulation. And so then our job, well, the whole organization's job is to protect the public. And so in protecting the public, the first thing we do is the licensing exam, so that only qualified practitioners are licensed to practice. So we then make that exam for all the different boards of nursing, and they are the members of our organization. So we have 59 members. It's all the states, plus some have 2 boards of nursing, and then all the islands, specifically the U.S. territories like Guam and Mariana Islands, and I'm forgetting a few others, I think. And so those are the members to NCSBN. Then we also have associate members, and those are members from all over the world.
That's so interesting.
Thank you.
So the National Council of State Boards of Nursing also has resources for nurses as well, right?
We do. And in fact, we have a brand new resource that I don't even think you know about, Lori.
Oh.
We have a new booklet that was just created early, towards the end of the spring, I would say. And that is the NCSB Welcomes You to the Nursing Profession booklet. And it's free, and it's a great booklet for new nurses or nurses about to graduate that talks about their license. It also has an accompanying video that called New Nurses, Your License to Practice, and that's 8 minutes long. So you can find that on our website at ncsbn.org, and if you click on practice, underneath practice, you can see that there are these new nurse materials that are very helpful. The other thing that we have is we have so many things, but I know we have limited time today. So I'll talk about nurses.com. So we spell nurses over here as Nursys, but we pronounce it just like nurses, the plural to nurse. Nurses is our database. It's our licensure and discipline database for all the boards of nursing. So when a nurse wants to see what the status of their license is, they could type in nursys.com, search for themselves on nurses.com. So it will give you the updated licensure information as to whether your license is expired or not, but most importantly, it will tell you whether or not your license is encumbered. Now, you would generally know that your license is encumbered, but you might want to make sure and see what the state boards of nursing are saying about you. Now, although it's our database, we are not the source of the data. The source of the data is the Board of Nursing. They upload information into nurses, and so that information then can be provided through this national database. And not only nurses use this, but employers use this. They use this to look and see whether or not someone has an active license and whether or not there's any encumbrances or discipline on that license. Another product that we have is called e-Notify, and that is on that nurses.com site also. And what that is that's something you sign up for. It's free of charge, and then you get reminders from that e-Notify. It reminds you 6 months ahead of time. It'll be time to renew your license. It'll notify you at 3 months, at 2 months, at 1 month. And so it'll provide information for you. And if the Board of Nursing has taken any discipline or action on your license, it will also notify you. Employers can also register all of their nurses on that e-Notify, and then they can get notifications that a license has expired or a discipline has happened on a nurse. So that's a really great product for nurses and for employers.
Well, you'd be surprised how many calls that I get from nurses that they just find out their license has been suspended and they didn't know, because the most important things nurses need to do is keep your address correct, and not just in the state that you're in, but really any state you have had a license, because they can still take action even if you don't have a license in that state anymore.
Correct. And that is so important. It's one of our duties as a nurse and as a licensed individual that we keep all of our information updated. And most boards of nursing have a link right on their website where you can go and update your information.
And the other thing that I like is that I've had a number of nurses say to me they couldn't believe that they let their license expire because either they're not notified or they're notified by email and it goes to spam. There's a number of ways that people don't realize that their license expired. And I always tell people, put it in your calendar, your electronic calendar, recurring every time you have to renew. But with this e-Notify, that's an extra added protection to make sure that your license get renewed timely.
Yes, and you would be notified from all the different states, the status of your license. The states that you're licensed in or have been licensed in. And it's really important because you really don't want to practice without a license.
It's actually a criminal offense, too, to practice nursing without a license. And that's really super helpful for any of you who do wellness nursing and have licenses in all 50 states, which I can't even imagine keeping up with all that.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So, the other resources that NCSBN has that I refer all the time is your continuing education, which I think is fabulous.
Oh, thanks very much. It's a big initiative from NCSBN, our learning extension courses is what it's called. And there are a variety of opportunities there. Sometimes it's just an article from the Journal of Nursing Regulation that you read and then you answer the questions, and you can get 1.2 or 1 hour of credit, and it costs $15. So it's really a quick way. But we have longer courses too. So for patient care, I was thinking some of the ones that might be helpful is we have the National Guidelines for Effective Delegation, which I think would be an important continuing education for all nurses.
Yeah.
And that's one of those ones where you read the article. It's 1.2 credit hours, $15. We also have a course on medication errors, how to prevent and detect them. That's a 3-hour course, a 6.9-hour course.
Wow.
I think it costs $30, but it's a very good course. Sometimes it's used for remediation, but it also might be helped preventatively. We have our professional boundaries courses, and we have our new transition to practice modules. We have 4 modules there, and those are great for nurses that are transitioning from just being licensed or from graduation from nursing school and just being licensed. Those are great transition modules. We also have a substance use disorder in nursing and a substance use disorder course for nurse managers, and those are both free.
Oh.
So those are our only 2 free courses. Some of the things that aren't necessarily related to practice but may be helpful, if you're a Georgia nurse, there's a jurisprudence course I think you have to take, and that course is online at NCSBN. There's also a Kentucky jurisprudence test on that course, and at least 9 other states have Nurse Practice Act courses there. So it's very helpful, short courses for you to review something that maybe you haven't reviewed in many years. We have professional accountability and legal liability for nurses, and righting a wrong, ethics and professionalism. So those are just some of the courses that we have on Learning Extension.
Lots of great stuff. I particularly like the one on critical thinking. I think that's a really good one. And then I can't stress enough about how good your course is on professional boundaries. Nurses, just because other people do it doesn't mean it's right. And so they do things that cross a line and they don't realize it because it seems so innocent, or they're doing it because they think they're helping, but it can actually hurt you.
Right.
So great resources. And then I believe you also have a nurse practitioner full practice authority initiative, right?
Well, it's not just for nurse practitioners, it's for all advanced practice registered nurses. So right now there are 22 states where there are full practice authority for all 4 roles. And just to review for everyone, the roles are the certified nurse practitioner, the certified nurse midwife, the certified registered nurse anesthetist, and then the clinical nurse specialist. So we have 22 states now. We have several in the pipeline, but we have a new initiative, and it's on our other website called Nursing America. And in that, this is a whole website devoted to obtaining full practice authority and all other elements to the consensus model for APRNs to help states get those. So this next year, we will be particularly focusing formal campaigns in Florida, Mississippi, North Carolina, and Tennessee. Now, we'll help any state that's moving forward with legislation. And so there are at least 6 other states that we know for this next year that are going to be involved in in moving APRN legislation forward. And we have a team here that helps with that.
That's fabulous. Well, what great resources for nurses. I really appreciate your help. Anything else you'd like to share?
Well, we have a brand new website. It was all recently updated and just last week, and that is ncsbn.org. So I think it's very user-friendly, and it has a lot of resources on it, so please take a look.
Yeah, so even though that you are designed for professional or public safety, and all of your the nursing boards are members of NCSBN, you still have a ton of stuff for nurses as well to keep their license safe.
We do. We have a lot of public information that explains a lot. Sometimes you'll see a little lock symbol, and that's a members only resource. But most of the things we have on our website are open to the public.
In fact, you wrote a great article in the Journal of Nursing Regulation on how the boards work.
Right. We have a Nurse Practice Act article. I also recently wrote an article on the National Practitioner Data Bank.
Oh.
And that is published in our Journal of Nursing Regulation. And there are links on our website to that journal. And unfortunately, not all the articles are free, but you can get there from them. Okay. And that the National Practitioner Data Bank article is also a continuing education article.
Great, great.
And then our final thing that I'd like to talk about is the National Nursing Guidelines for Medical Marijuana. We recently wrote a whole issue of the Journal of Nursing Regulation just on this topic. There really wasn't a comprehensive document, book, journal that covered all of the information or that wrote guidelines about the care of patients. And so that is our July supplement to the Journal of Nursing Regulation. And it has guidelines for nurses as well as guidelines for APRNs. And it just reviews all about medical marijuana. So I urge a lot of people to take a look at that. You never know when you'll be working with a patient that will be using medical marijuana.
Great. Well, and I'm looking forward to having you speak. Kathleen is our EndNote speaker at the American Association of Nurse Attorneys this year. So excited to have you. And thank you for all you do to promote our profession. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for inviting me, and thank you for all you do empowering nurses, Lori.
Oh, thank you, and thanks for being here. Thanks for what you've shared today. Bye, everybody. Until next time, we'll see you later. Enjoy. Bye.